So Receiptor is a software that connects to various sources such as WhatsApp, recently iMessage, SMS, MMS, and various other sources, and allows and gathers all the receipts and invoices that are in those sources and categorizes them into accounting software such as Xero and QuickBooks. We've recently, as I mentioned, released the integration with iMessage, SMS, and MMS, which allows broader sets of devices to use Receiptor. And what we're going to be talking about today is how the Receiptor integration with WhatsApp works, what can be done with it, and we're going to be talking about the fact of being able to scan, of asking and setting up automations on WhatsApp directly. So everybody of us has had a relationship with accountants, and accountants periodically, especially when the deadline arrives, ask us for context for our receipts and invoices, but nobody else is on the planet knows better about those receipts and invoices than ourselves, and therefore, considering that Receiptor is the one that extracts and categorizes all these documents, if Receiptor has a low confidence score in categorizing a certain expense, it's going to reach out to us directly and ask for context, for us to provide context, and based on that, is going to be able to categorize receipts and invoices better in the future. And so therefore, the whole premise of building Receiptor for WhatsApp, it is to be able to perform bookkeeping tasks on the go without having to be on a computer, and especially for professions that are always outside of the office and make purchases in shops, etc. Is a convenient way to scan and receipts and store them in Receiptor AI on the go. This is something that is not new. Other companies are doing that through apps, etc. But what really is interesting in the context of Receiptor is the AI agent that we've linked to it. But before jumping into that, we're going to be able to show how that works. I've got a simple receipt here. The way it works is that directly from Receiptor AI dashboards, we can activate the WhatsApp functionality. And in case we don't receive a message, because in case the line is busy, we can just scan this QR code. But we're going to receive a message like the one which I just received, telling us how to, but we already know how to proceed. So I'm just going to drop a document directly in it. It's a receipt of Bank of America. And here I'm just going to provide some context, and that's particularly useful because I can just drop the image or take a picture or forward a PDF without any context. But if I really need to put any context right now, I was going to have the AI categorize this document right away. So here's going to be initial deposit for the company US credit card, and he's going to know about it, and he's going to take that context, save it, and use it for categorizing these very receipts, but also save it in the future in case we've got some other similar transactions in the context of Bank of America and in New Montgomery Street in San Francisco, for instance. So as I mentioned, we'll be able to do that by just scanning receipts, but also forwarding them from other chats, or also dropping in PDFs, documents as well. And it's going to extract and scan them. Up until now, we've seen that before in other apps, as I mentioned, except PDFs, because most of them are just scanning, just scanning functionalities. But now it is a good time to talk about what can be done beyond that. And so what's interesting about our integration with WhatsApp is that we can ask for context queries, such as how much have I spent in the last month, or what's the top merchant that we've spent last year. So how much, for instance, have we spent on in Q1 2026, and is going to run a query in the background and reply us with whatever the answer is. In the meantime, we've also known by the looks of it that the previous receipt was processed, and here Receiptor has come back to us with the indication that in Q1 2026 we spent $14,000 in 300 documents, etc. And also we've got some currencies that couldn't converted, and so potentially we could be fixing that also from here. In fact, what's the power of this integration is that whatever functionality we have and we can perform through the web dashboard, it is also doable through WhatsApp. So that's the power of it. In fact, for instance, let's also get what is the status of Xero exports, for instance. Or maybe I should have asked what is the, do we have any pending exports to Xero? But let's see what it comes up with. And it's probably going to tell us that we've got 300 exports, and then we've got one failed export because TasteKUS was already found in Xero. And so, as mentioned, we can perform actions that we can otherwise perform through the web. And so, rename that document from tail to just tail scale. Let's see if that's enough context for the AI to understand that and rename it. But in other words, we can just fix problems from here, should there be any, and then retry. In this case, we will have to run a full query to get the document ID. But with just a few back and forth, we can retrieve the document and just rename it and retry the Xero integration. Next up is going to be about the possibility to automate things directly from chat with Receiptor AI. In fact, the first thing I want to ask him is, do we have any automations set up? And these are the automations that Receiptor is already set up with, such as Xero and QuickBooks. In fact, that is what is most likely going to tell us QuickBooks and Xero. And potentially from here, we can decide to perform some other integrations, such as every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, send a CSV report to Romeo at Receiptor AI with last week paid documents. And so here it's just going to create a export approval, which I'm not going to do because otherwise it's going to mess up our production data. But if I were to approve this thing, as we see, create automation with weekly paid documents on a schedule with payment status paid. And here's some technicalities, but we clearly see that we're going to be exporting a CSV and it's going to create it on our account. And so from here, we'll be able to do that. And so in the context, for instance, of travel, where we'll need to, as business owners, ask for claims, etc., we'll be able to do a similar thing just by querying. For instance, I've been to Shanghai for a week, and I need to gather all those documents and create an expense report. And this is exactly the way it would be done. Probably not as a schedule, but as just a one-time export. But it's going to be very similar type of procedure. And that's basically it. So compared to what other solutions in the market offer today, which are mostly about scanning receipts on the go, and that stops there. There are lots of markets such as Saudi Arabia, etc., and North Africa that rely heavily on WhatsApp messaging, also Southeast Asia. And so being able to use WhatsApp without installing any app and being able to forward things from other chats is very convenient, and that's the reason why we've built on top of that. And many other things such as asking and performing actions on WhatsApp is also something possible, and that extends the functionalities of what otherwise would be a simple scanning app. And so just to recap, these bookkeeping actions now, or in other words, your bookkeeper lives in your chat app now. It can be through WhatsApp or a message as of recently. You can capture anything without typing, or you can type something just to provide some extra context without having a back and forth. And you can answer on the spot, and it works in a conversational way instead of being merely a tool. And as a last demo, I would mention, since it is something that just popped up in my mind, I'm going to be running a command to just force a request for context, which is something that the Receiptor now does automatically. I consider you want to drop these. So we've recently launched the functionality called Ask Context, where each one of the phone numbers available on the platform can be used to request context for certain documents where Receiptor had a low confidence in trying to categorize. And here I just triggered a manual request for that. And as you can see, for this particular document, we've got a request for context to provide some more context related to this transaction. In this case, it was a roasted half chicken purchased in San Francisco, and it's going to ask us, what was this expense about? And so I'm just going to press on provide context. I'm just going to say this was a business lunch with clients, and I'm just going to tell him to remember this for future categorizations, and I'm going to submit this context. And so Receiptor uses memories to automatically categorize expenses, but whenever the confidence is too low to be to categorize these expenses, it's going to ask us, and it's going to remember it for future occurrences. And that's very convenient because this bookkeeper that Receiptor becomes for you works in the background and autonomously keeps your book up to date continuously and tax ready. And whenever there's more context needed, just like a bookkeeper would do, it would ask you for that so that it would be able to remember and improve over time.